Let's go back to the summer of 2016. It's the UEFA European Championship, and France have finished top of Group A on 7 points, gone on to beat the Republic of Ireland, dismantle Iceland, and convincingly overcome Germany en route to the final. Their opponent's path couldn't have been more different. Portugal finished third in Group F, drawing all 3 games against Hungary, Iceland, and Austria. Thanks to the expanded tournament format, they squeak into the knockouts as the third best, third placed team. They require extra time to beat Croatia and then penalties to beat Poland. Their only win inside 90 minutes comes against Wales in the semi-final. Portugal are incredibly lucky to have made it all the way. France surely can't mess this up. In the 109th minute, Eder's shot from outside the box sneaks past Hugo Lloris, stunning the world. Cristiano Ronaldo bows his head to receive his gold medal before lifting the European Championship as France lose the final on home soil in full view of a packed Stade de France. Fast forward 2 years and the footballing world prepares itself for World Cup 2018. Gian Ventura is sacked as Italy manager as they fail to qualify. Gareth Southgate wears a waistcoat and is considering an England side that plays with wingbacks. Didier Deschamps remains head coach of the French national team and announces his 23-man squad for the World Cup. As is now the custom in modern French football, he has a wealth of talent at his disposal and some selection headaches to navigate. Alexandre Lacazette's first season at Arsenal has seen him provide a total of 22 goals and assists for the North London club. Karim Benzema leads the line at Real Madrid and finishes the season with a total of 21. Anthony Martial hits 20 goal contributions at Manchester United. A young Alassane Pléa is the name on everyone's lips in French football, netting 21 goals and providing 7 assists for Nice, and outscoring the likes of Kylian Mbappe in the French First Division. Not a single one of them makes the plane for Russia 2018. Instead, Didier Deschamps selects a now 32-year-old Olivier Giroud, who had fallen out of favour at Arsenal and had been sold to Chelsea in the closing days of the January transfer window that past season. A seemingly baffling decision was further compounded when Giroud did not start France's opening game against Australia, with Deschamps electing to play Antoine Griezmann in a somewhat awkward and unfamiliar number 9 role, flanked by Kylian Mbappe and Ousmane Dembele. With 70 minutes played and the score level at 1-1, Didier turns to his bench. Off comes Griezmann and on comes Giroud. Within minutes of stepping onto the pitch, Giroud drops away from his centre-back, shields and controls a pass bounced into him, and cleverly plays the 1-2 with Paul Pogba, whose shot rattles off the bar and creeps over the goal line to secure French victory. Didier Deschamps had his mind made up. Giroud would start every single game for the remainder of the 2018 World Cup campaign. But this is not necessarily a story of a striker's redemption. The 32-year-old Giroud did not come into form, find his shooting boots, or set the tournament alight. The French centre-forward did not finish the tournament as the name on everyone's lips with the golden boot, or with a newly found second wind to propel him for the rest of his career. Conversely, come the end of the 2018 World Cup, the stats made for some grim reading. In the tournament, Giroud would receive more yellow cards than he would score goals, and across 8 games, Giroud would not only fail to score a single goal, He would fail to even register a single shot on target across 546 minutes of action. Olivier Giroud would also win the World Cup. He would hold the most coveted trophy in the sport above his head and alongside his French teammates as golden confetti rained down from above. He cements himself as a world champion and as a national hero and one of the most influential and important centre-forwards in French football history, whether you like it or not. And as the French filled the streets of Paris, celebrating a World Cup victory after a 2-decade-long wait under the arches of the Eiffel Tower, the absolute last thing on anybody's minds was how many goals Giroud had scored, let alone how many shots he took that didn't even hit the target. Following the departure of Alexander Lacazette at the end of the 21-22 season, Arsenal under Mikel Arteta were on the hunt for a new number 9. With money to burn in their back pocket and a gaping hole in their forward line, Arsenal found a brilliant market opportunity and a perfect profile of player. Internationally recognised with Champions League pedigree, Arsenal's new centre-forward was in his mid-20s and had Premier League experience after being prized away from a rival top 6 club. While there were questions regarding his consistency in his finishing, Arsenal's new line leader made up for his occasional shortcomings in front of goal with his tenacity in duels, his proficiency in linking play in midfield, and his flexibility in being able to play in multiple positions and multiple roles for the team. As you've already guessed by now, I am of course talking about Gabriel Jesus, who was signed on the 4th of July 2022 for a reported £45 million fee from Manchester City and handed Alexander Lacazette's bequeathed number 9 shirt. He would score 11 times for Arsenal in 33 appearances. Oh, sorry, were you thinking of someone else? Okay, let's fast forward all that and talk about Kai Havertz. Signed the following season from Chelsea for a reported £65 million, it's important to remember that Kai Havertz was not signed as Gabriel Jesus' replacement or even his backup. Havertz was Arsenal and Mikel Arteta's pick to play as the left 8, rounding out the midfield alongside Ødegaard and Declan Rice. Make no mistake about it, Havertz was seen by the club as midfielder first, auxiliary backup striker second. Out of the first 10 games in Arsenal's 23-24 Premier League season, Eddie Nketiah started up front in 8 of them, and in the 2 that he didn't play, the centre-forward role was occupied by Trossard and Jesus, respectively. In fact, it wasn't until February of that season where Kai Havertz would start seeing serious minutes leading the Arsenal line. He made his first start up top alongside Saka and Martinelli, a lineup more familiar to the current day Arsenal setup, in a 4-1 win over Newcastle in which Havertz provided a goal and an assist. The following game week in the Premier League saw Havertz retain his role as Arsenal's starting striker as he notched another goal and another assist in Arsenal's 6-0 win away at Sheffield United. From there on, Arteta seemingly was completely convinced Havertz would start as Arsenal's lone centre-forward for all but 2 of their remaining league games of that campaign, and the German international would finish the season with 13 Premier League goals and 7 assists, including a brace against his former club Chelsea, a goal and an assist away in the North London derby, and a goal on the final day at the Emirates against Everton, where Arsenal narrowly missed out on their first title in 20 years after being pipped by Manchester City by 2 points. Rolling on to the 24-25 season, and there is no debate over who is Arsenal's number 9. Eddie Nketiah was sold to Crystal Palace. Gabriel Jesus' season has been blighted with injury, but even when the Brazilian has been fit, he's been relegated to cameo appearances and only started games for Arsenal strictly when Kai Havertz was unavailable. Like some sort of reverse Joe Linton situation, Havertz was signed as a midfielder, looked uncomfortable and performed relatively poorly in the role before a change of position which much better suited his unique skill set saw him flourish into Arsenal's leading man and goal scorer extraordinaire. A fun success story, a happy ending, 29 goals and 12 assists in all competitions across 2 seasons for the Gunners. A pat on the back for Mikel Arteta and the coaching staff, and while it took them 2 bites of the cherry and upwards of £100 million, Arsenal have their line-leading number 9 for years to come. Time to focus finances in upcoming transfer windows on fleshing out other areas of the squad. Well, maybe not. While Kai Havertz is undisputably Arsenal's number 9 and has been for the past season and a half, all reports suggest that Arsenal's main summer transfer target will be on a new striker. Gyökeres, Sesko, Isak, Delap, or whoever it may be, it almost certainly will no longer be the German starting as striker for Arsenal next season. "We need a killer," tweeted Ian Wright after Arsenal's defeat to Liverpool in the FA Cup third round last season, a game which saw Arsenal squander an XG of 1.76, failing to find the back of the net with any attempt, while a Kiwior own goal and a Luis Diaz strike gave Liverpool a 2-goal victory. Whilst there have been questions surrounding Havertz's suitability to lead the line for Arsenal for a while, in my mind, this is where the real doubts started to occur. Since then, there has been a hyper-focus on Kai Havertz and his ability to finish in front of goal, one that has ultimately reached a conclusion that he's simply not good enough of a finisher for Arsenal standard and that he must be replaced. There was much talk of Arsenal procuring a new centre-forward at the end of the 23-24 season, but for one reason or another, central midfield and defensive options were prioritised in the summer window. Interestingly, it's not as if there was simply no market opportunity for the Gunners that summer, which saw the likes of Victor Osimhen, Julian Alvarez, Dominic Solanke, Ivan Toney, Tammy Abraham, Hugo Ekitike and Liam Delap all make moves to new clubs. These options were either deemed to be too expensive, not enough of an upgrade, not suitable for the team, or a combination of all three, and Arsenal's summer budget was spent on other signings. By the time January 2025 came around and subsequent season-ending injuries for both Kai Havertz and Gabriel Jesus endured, Arsenal again toyed with the idea of bringing in a new number 9 in the winter window, with reports regarding them prying Benjamin Sesko away from RB Leipzig or Ollie Watkins away from Aston Villa. Like the summer previous, neither option materialised. As we approach the 2025 summer transfer window, Arsenal's centre-forward recruitment is an open secret. For all of the big-brained galaxy thinking that's in the sport these days, logic still dictates that football is a simple game, and if you score more goals than your opponent, you win. Having a striker who can guarantee you goals makes any football team better. You'd be hard-pressed to find anyone in or out of the game that disagrees with that. It seems that Arsenal have come to this conclusion anyway. The evidence is staring at us right in the face. Let's just look at the best team in the Premier League this season, Arne Slot's Liverpool. Their goal-scoring number 9 is, of course, Darwin Núñez, who at the time of writing has 5 goals in 25 appearances this season. Well, I mean, he's a bit of an anomaly and hasn't started many games this season, often being benched for the much more favoured Cody Gakpo, who has 8 goals in 28 appearances for Liverpool this season. Well, okay, maybe Liverpool haven't needed an elite centre-forward to win the title, but Manchester City do have the best one. Erling Haaland has a staggering 84 Premier League goals in 94 appearances for Manchester City. Truly outstanding numbers. In his first season with the club, Manchester City scored 94 goals in the Premier League. In his second season, Manchester City scored a total of 96. Unbelievable stuff. Although, in the season before Haaland's arrival, Manchester City actually scored more league goals, with 99 of them. Statistically speaking, Haaland's arrival at Manchester City led to Manchester City scoring less, not more. Also, despite having one of the world's best goal-scoring centre-forwards, City are not in a title race and have to battle to even retain their Champions League spot for next season. Okay, well, how about Real Madrid? They were so dominant last season, winning a domestic title and Champions League double. And now they've added Mbappe into the mix and, well, Madrid are actually scoring less goals per game than last season and are 12 points worse off at this stage of the season than they were last. Bayern Munich signed Harry Kane and went trophyless. Spurs sold Harry Kane, did alright without him for a while, signed Dominic Solanke to replace him, and are doing much worse. Manchester City's run of 4 in a row started with 2 dominant seasons following the phasing out and then departure of Sergio Aguero.
We cannot replace him. We cannot.
Ushering in a period of unpredictability regarding who would appear on the team sheet each week. Ferran Torres, Kevin De Bruyne, Phil Foden and Gabriel Jesus all had a go at centre-forward at various points across those seasons, and the result was 2 more league titles. In fact, when you think of some of the most prolific, effective and efficient forward lines in recent years, my mind jumps to the likes of Roberto Firmino, flanked by Sadio Mane and Mohamed Salah, who terrorised Premier League and European defences season after season. Roberto Firmino never scored more than 15 league goals in a season for Liverpool Football Club. In the season when Liverpool beat absolutely everyone every week and walked to the title on a staggering 99 points, they scored a total of 85 goals. Firmino accounted for only 9 of them. Okay, look, not to just immediately bury the point I've just made, but I must admit, my reasoning doesn't apply across all teams and in every situation. It would be hard for me to sit here and say with a straight face that Newcastle would be better off without Isak, or that Sporting fans are rubbing their hands together at the prospect of Gyökeres leaving because they'll surely and definitely improve without him. Yes, Manchester City's goal-scoring statistics are technically worse since they've signed Erling Haaland, but with him wearing the sky blue number 9 shirt, they, also did go on and win a treble. In truth, the real claim I'm trying to persuade you on is that a football team is a balanced ecosystem. You cannot just hot swap in a striker with a better goal scoring record and assume that the team will now score more goals. Football is an unsolved game, and no participant on the pitch will ever possess the ability to find a solution to every problem that they or their team could possibly face. No player is unconditionally good at all aspects of the game, and I'd argue that this is even more true for strikers whose skill sets tend to be highly focused rather than broadly ranging. If we take Lionel Messi, whose skill set is obviously elite in so many aspects of attacking play that it doesn't even need to be stated, even he lacks in certain areas. When compared to, say, Erling Haaland, Messi is inferior at holding up the ball, pinning centre-backs with his strength, and towering above defenders to win aerial duels and score headers. Despite this, Messi is still pretty good and had a decent career, but the fact remains there is no point in having Messi camp in the penalty box for his teammates to swing crosses into, in much the same way there is little point in giving Erling Haaland the ball to his feet on the halfway line. A football team is an ecosystem, and you can't simply swap out one player for another without considering the knock-on effects elsewhere. Bukayo Saka beats his man down the byline and flashes a ball across the box. The ball rolls across the 6-yard area in between the opposition goalkeeper and the frozen defence, begging to be tapped in. But the ball keeps rolling as no Arsenal player is in position to get on the end of it, and it harmlessly continues to roll out to the other side of the penalty area. If only Arsenal had an actual striker, everybody cries. It would be 1-0 if they had a striker in there. This is an incredibly frustrating trend in football analysis that I witness all the time, from casual fans all the way through to those who have made careers analysing the game. This idea that a centre-forward whose entire game is entirely focused on being in the box and getting on the end of chances would definitely have converted Saka's cutback is ludicrous. That's not how any of this works. Firstly, who's to say that an out-and-out striker, a phrase that means little to nothing, by the way, would definitely have gotten on the end of the chance in the first place? Who's to say that this imaginary out-and-out striker, who's always in the opposition penalty box, would definitely have made the right movement at the right time and gotten to the ball? Who's to say that someone like Gyökeres or Isak wouldn't have been too tightly marked or had his run blocked purposely by a clever defender? Don't we see this sort of thing all the time with strikers? If a defence knows there's only one man to worry about getting on the end of a cutback, it makes the defensive game plan a whole lot simpler. And secondly, and more importantly, who's to say that the chance even occurs with an out-and-out striker on the pitch in the first place? Goal scoring opportunities don't just manifest themselves on the pitch. Bukayo Saka doesn't just spawn in with the ball at his feet facing up a fullback one-on-one. In fact, Arsenal go to unbelievable lengths to get this type of situation. Arsenal have to move heaven and earth to drag the second covering defender away from Saka and to progress through a block to get the ball into his feet. And for Arsenal, Kai Havertz is often instrumental in doing that. What he may lack in deadly finishing, he provides in work ethic and intelligence in his pressing. He can disrupt defences with his physical frame. He's comfortable in dropping deeper into the Arsenal midfield and providing overloads. He's not fast with the ball and he's not fast without the ball. But when Arsenal need to go long, his giraffe-like physique provides the opportunity for Raya to go long and to lump one directly over the top of an opposition press, albeit at the cost of him looking a bit like Bambi on ice when he's tasked with twisting and turning in tight spaces. Let's go back to the Arsenal chance I just described. The outcome is the ball rolling across the Madrid penalty area. But if we rewind, the chance only occurs in the first place because Mikel Moreno, playing the role of Kai Havertz on the night, presses Camavinga and tackles him, and then, once possession is turned over, drops away from him to receive a pass from Martinelli in midfield. He shields and rolls away from his marker and spreads it out to Rice on the left wing. Literally 2 passes later and the ball is fizzing past a hapless Courtois. Moreno stays switched on and then works to press the Real Madrid defender stuck against his own byline, hurrying him into a poor clearance in which Arsenal regain control of the football. Much like the aforementioned Roberto Firmino, false 9 Phil Foden, Gabriel Jesus, or even the likes of Harry Kane, these forwards are great facilitators of others around them. Willingly and purposefully, sacrificing their time in opposition penalty boxes to provide tactical advantages in other areas for their respective sides. I mean, isn't this why Arteta signed Gabriel Jesus in the first place? Jesus never had a reputation as a prolific goalscorer, a fox in the box, or an elite finisher who banged goals in from all angles. If Arsenal and Arteta wanted a penalty box striker, they had Eddie Nketiah on their books since he was a kid. They had Lacazette and Aubameyang right there as well. The likes of Havertz and Jesus were signed because of their preference to leave the opposition penalty box and rotate into other areas of the pitch, not in spite of it. It does seem that there's been a change in thinking at Arsenal, which reflects the change of thinking happening across elite football. Target men and goal poaching centre forwards are back, baby, and false nines and midfielders masquerading as forwards are seemingly on their way out. Pep Guardiola, once obsessed with fitting as many central midfielders onto the pitch as possible, disposed of his entire front line to accommodate Erling Haaland and signed 1v1 wingers to beat their fullbacks and provide balls into him. Bellingham, despite his outrageous goal-scoring feats in his first season at Madrid, has been dropped back into midfield to allow Mbappe to get on the end of all the chances. Roberto Firmino was eventually replaced with Darwin Núñez, who himself will almost certainly be replaced by a striker who can actually put the ball into the net. Whomever Arsenal sign in the summer as their new number 9 will score goals. I have no doubt about that. They will probably score more goals than Kai Havertz, and no doubt will I have someone in the comment section of this video digging me out for this analysis, aging like milk a few weeks into the new season. They will have missed the point, because while a new Arsenal striker will score goals, Arsenal as a collective will only score more goals if there is also a change in system and in style to complement their new signing. Arsenal have regressed this season in the Premier League. At the time of writing, Arsenal are 7th in the table for total expected goals. League winners Liverpool are way out in first. Arsenal have failed to score more than one goal in a game on 16 different occasions. Liverpool have failed to score more than one goal in only 5. Is Arsenal's issue a lack of a true, out-and-out, goal-scoring centre-forward? I'd argue the main issue, aside from a serious case of bad luck and injury, has been the chance creation itself, rather than the finishing of those chances. Across the course of this season, the statistics show that Arsenal haven't created enough goal-scoring opportunities to win the league, regardless of who has played as centre-forward. While the priority signing this summer will almost certainly be a new striker, I'd argue that Arsenal's squad issues are probably more concerning further back. A lack of creative passer from deep has cost Arsenal against low blocks this season as they dropped points to both Everton at home and Brentford away. Martin Ødegaard's creative burden in midfield is too great and has been exacerbated by a rotten run of form and Arsenal not having a single other option in the squad to replace him. I maintain that Arsenal's biggest squad-related issue this season has been the decision to let both Emil Smith-Rowe and Fabio Vieira leave the club without replacing them. Generally speaking, in the league, Arsenal have been too cautious, and the goals this season have come through Saka with the ball at his feet or through set pieces. Simply put, this Arsenal side is not a side that has been creating huge amounts of chances which they just can't take. Havertz's finishing ability isn't even as bad as some of the fans and the media seem to make out, with him scoring at a rate which roughly matches the chances he's been provided. If we switch focus to the Champions League, Arsenal's fantastic run this season has featured a front three of Martinelli, Saka and Mikel Moreno on the biggest nights. No one would describe Moreno as a natural goal-scoring centre-forward, and yet his physical presence and ability to link play enabled the Arsenal front line to dismantle Real Madrid. Will a new out-and-out centre-forward immediately fix everything? I'm not so sure. If Arsenal are to pivot to a centre-forward focused front line to score all the goals, they will have to make changes to accommodate. They will need better creation from deep and wingers who willingly hug touchlines and stretch defences. Do the club want that of Bukayo Saka? The harsh reality is that there are only so many goal-scoring chances to go around in a single game. Do Arsenal sacrifice Saka's output for a shiny new centre-forward to gobble them all up instead? Last season, Vinicius Jr. was on such goal-scoring form that he almost won a Ballon d'Or. Now Mbappe is the main man, Vinicius Jr.'s numbers pale in comparison. And all of this is just considering Arsenal's attacking play. How do the midfield or the defence cope with a centre-forward who doesn't press as well, or one who can't hold up the ball as well, or one who loses more physical and aerial duels? Compared to Alexander Isak, per 90 minutes, Kai Havertz averages more tackles, more interceptions, more blocks, more clearances, and absolutely smokes him on percentage of aerial duels won. I know, these are deeply unsexy stats to be referencing when talking about Premier League strikers, but it's honest and vital work on the football pitch, work that will have to be compensated for if Havertz is no longer there to do it. The changes required aren't impossible to accommodate. Arsenal are an elite side with an elite manager with an elite squad. It would be no surprise to find that these questions have already been considered and planned for. But the crucial point I'm trying to make here is whoever Arsenal choose to sign will be better than Havertz in some ways, but not every way. Arsenal must be careful that what they gain from a new elite finisher results in a net positive over what they already have and what they could stand to lose.